A shocking 60% vacancy rate in Shanghai's Qiantan office buildings? This is not a joke. As a professional in Shanghai office space rentals, let me share a method to gauge the market. In Qiantan, each office building's lobby has plaques with the names of companies located there. By visiting each building, you can observe and gauge the overall occupancy and vacancy rates yourself. Young, have you managed to rent out your office space? It's been vacant for 8 months now. It used to be said that one shop supports 3 generations. Now it feels like one shop traps 3 generations. It's a grade A office space, over 300 square meters. The property fee alone is 30 yuan per square meter. For 8 months without tenants, I'm paying over 10,000 yuan a month in property fees alone. There's a stat claiming that the vacancy rate for Shanghai's grade A offices is 18%, but from what I can tell, it feels like it's more than over 40%. How high is the vacancy rate in Xiamen's office buildings? Initially, I estimated it to be between 60% to 70%, including unrenovated buildings and those without active businesses, essentially old vacant buildings. Concerned about the accuracy, I conducted research over 4 months and concluded that the vacancy rate for commercial buildings in Xiamen indeed ranges between 60% and 70%. 2024 will be dominated by outsourcing companies. In Hangzhou, almost all top-tier office buildings are nearing complete vacancy, with many exceeding a 50% vacancy rate. The high rent costing 5 to 6 yuan per square meter per day is common. Last year, Hangzhou's rental agencies were thriving, but this year, business has plummeted. Why? Because most business owners have suffered losses. They see no need to rent large spaces, maintain large desks, or employ many workers. In a poor economic environment, it's about doing the subtraction in business management to minimize waste. This loss of over 1 million yuan here, another million there, 1 or 2 billion yuan invested in one floor, hundreds of owners all gone to waste. For 8 years, not a single unit has been rented out. Look, all are bare shells, never even renovated. Most owners have now completely given up, not even bothering to post rental signs. On this entire floor, only one owner has posted a rental ad. Many owners don't bother anymore because they can't rent out the spaces. At least this location is slightly better. The owner hasn't given up yet. Qibao Huashang Times Square in Shanghai, once a bustling area, is now deserted. Following the burst of China's real estate bubble, office spaces were among the first to be hit hard, with vacancy rates in office buildings continuing to rise across major cities. In Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen, the vacancy rates for office spaces have exceeded 20%. In some second-tier cities like Qingdao, the rates have even surpassed 40%. The alarming levels of vacancy in China's office buildings not only signify a crisis in commercial real estate, but also indicate a widespread economic downturn. Who would have thought that, despite surviving the toughest 3 years of the pandemic, the office buildings would not only fail to recover, but would die off even faster? The prices and rents of many office buildings have plummeted back to levels seen 20 years ago, including China's largest financial cities. Recent data released by multiple market institutions show that in the first quarter, Shanghai's office leasing market saw a decline in net absorption and rental levels quarter on quarter, with vacancy rates rising. On April 10th, data released by the Cushman & Wakefield showed that in the first quarter this year, the net absorption of grade A office buildings in Shanghai was 85,800 square meters, a 9.9% decline from the previous quarter and a 37.5% decrease from the same period last year. The overall vacancy rate for grade A office buildings in Shanghai rose to 22%, an increase of 0.2% from the previous quarter. On April 16th, a report by CBRE stated that in the first quarter, Shanghai's office market received 4 new supplies totaling 267,000 square meters, a 27.5% increase quarter on quarter. These are mainly located in peripheral areas such as Hongqiao, Huamu, Zhenru, and Wujiaochang. Shanghai's office vacancy rates rose 2.9% year over year to 20.9%, reaching a new high in nearly 20 years. The vacancy rate in the core business districts increased by 0.6 percentage points to 12.3%. If economic conditions do not improve, the average rent for offices in Shanghai is expected to decline further. Zhang Yue, the head of office services at CBRE East China, stated that in the next 6 months, about 960,000 square meters of new grade A office supplies will enter the Shanghai market, the highest level for the same period historically. With a continuous increase in supply and companies' growing consciousness to cut costs, competition is expected to intensify further. A Taiwanese businessman told Central News Agency that after 3 years of the pandemic, he has significantly felt the decrease in rental prices for commercial real estate in Shanghai. His office, located in Qingpu, part of the greater Hongqiao area, is one of about 1,000 office spaces. Compared to before the pandemic, the rent has dropped by nearly 40%, and the number of tenants has decreased by about 60%. His current monthly rent is only 6,300 yuan, down from the original 10,000 yuan, a reduction of nearly 40%. Foreign investors, known for their acute market foresight, have heavily invested in Shanghai office buildings. Now, facing bleak market performances, they are quietly selling off their commercial properties. According to Bloomberg, citing sources familiar with the matter, Blackrock, one of the world's largest asset management groups, is seeking to sell its office complex in Shanghai to about a 30% discount from the purchase price. Blackrock bought 2 office buildings in the emerging central business district of Beijing from PGIM Real Estate for 1.2 billion yuan in 2018. Due to the economic sluggishness and an oversupply, other institutional investors are also selling off office buildings, making it difficult to find buyers in the current commercial real estate market in China. Shanghai holds the largest stock of Grade A office buildings in China. Take the Shanghai Greater Hongqiao, where numerous real estate companies set up headquarters during its peak, with more than 50 real estate companies once operating there. With the bursting of the real estate bubble, China's economy has entered a long-term recession. Numerous real estate companies have left the scene, leaving behind perpetual vacant offices and a relatively depressed commercial environment. For private real estate developers, selling assets is no longer sufficient to cover liabilities. For example, a real estate company in the Hongqiao business district owns an office building valued at 1 billion yuan in its heyday, which easily secured an 800 million yuan loan. The current market price of this building is only 500 million yuan. Selling it now would mean insolvency, with no buyers willing to take over what was once a prime asset. Now, the rental prices for office spaces in Shanghai have significantly decreased, and the competition is fierce, making leasing challenging. A 200 square meter Grade A office space in Yang'an West Road in Shanghai was re-leased in June last year, with rent reduced from 30,000 yuan per month to 14,000 yuan, a 53% decrease, and it still has been rented out. Shanghai's office vacancy rate has reached a 20-year low, sparking heated discussions online. Many netizens in Shanghai believe the actual vacancy rate is much higher than 20.9%, suggesting that doubling the figures might provide a more accurate representation. Others have posted, "Our company is in Mihan, and the vacancy rate in the park is over 50%, with 2 or more companies vacating this year." Another commented, "On our floor of more than 10 companies, only 2 are occupied, and we'll also move to the suburbs of Baoshan when our lease expires in June." Not just in Shanghai, but also in Beijing's central business district, in the formerly fully occupied Jianwai Soho, a significant amount of vacant space has appeared. On March 18th, a netizen posted on X, stating that he had a conversation with a friend working at a renowned property management company who said the office leasing market in Beijing is essentially doomed. Major buildings in the CBD such as the Kerry Center, China World Trade Center, WFC, and FFC have vacancy rates over 30%, with the Jindi Center exceeding 40%, and high-end office building in Wanjing also generally exceeding 30%. Financial Street also experiences similarly high vacancy rates. Moreover, rents have generally been halved, some even falling to less than a third of pre-pandemic levels. This netizen also shared a WeChat screenshot that stated, "Today I saw a report that the office building occupancy rate in central Shanghai has dropped from 85% to just over 60%, and in the suburbs from 65% to over 40%, indicating that 30% of businesses in Shanghai have shut down. This also means employment has likely fallen by about 30%. This is a tangible reality felt by all companies and employees working in Shanghai's office buildings. As the leading city in China's economy, Shanghai's situation implies even graver circumstances for other cities. The situation is more severe than we imagine. What should we do? Most businesses are facing existential threats. Several influential microbloggers on Weibo have reported that since the Chinese New Year, rental prices on Financial Street in Beijing have plummeted, with some buildings experiencing declines of more than 50%, yet they still remain vacant. Screenshots of rental agency advertisements circulating online include slogans like "half-price office rent with custom renovations, and rental costs reduced by 30% to 50%. Rent reductions at prominent centers like Zuozhu Center, Fengrong Center, and Fukai Building have reached or exceeded 50%, with Fukai Building seeing the highest reduction at 65%. Chosun Ilbo reported that during a visit to Beijing in February of this year, its journalists found severe vacancies in commercial office buildings across the city, including the iconic Beijing commercial building Wangjing Soho in Chaoyang District. The journalists described entering Building 2 of the 6-building complex as walking into an atmosphere quiet as death. Most shops in the building were closed, some with rental signs on the doors. Looking down the corridors, darkness prevailed. Furniture left behind in the empty shops were covered in dust, with heavy locks hanging on the doors. A staff member mentioned that this situation has persisted for at least a year. Caixin recently reported that Beijing's office space vacancy rate has, for the first time, surpassed 20%, reaching a 13-year high of 20.4%. This phenomenon primarily results from several companies relocating their headquarters from Beijing to other cities over the past year, and others downsizing, thereby reducing their leased spaces. These factors have led to a lack of market rental demand, with more tenants exiting than entering. Currently, most cities in China face an oversupply in the office building market, with a 20% vacancy rate serving as a red line indicating excessive office space. Collier International has stated that a lack of effective demand will continue to plague market development, with Beijing's overall market vacancy rate expected to remain above 20%. Among China's top-tier cities, Shenzhen has performed the worst. Currently, Shenzhen's office rental levels have returned to those of 10 years ago, even lower than 2014. The decline of office rents in Shenzhen has been a topic of discussion for years. After a rapid increase in office rent levels from 2014 to 2015, which persisted until 2018, Shenzhen's office rents have been in decline since 2019, corresponding to an increase in vacancy rates. Shenzhen's economy is also visibly declining, with a significant number of companies relocating and the scale of layoffs and salary cuts far exceeding common expectations. Speaking of supply and demand imbalances, in 2024, Shenzhen expects 13 new projects to enter the market, providing approximately 890,000 square meters of supply. The total stock is projected to increase to 11.8 million square meters, an 8.2% growth year over year. Correspondingly, as of the end of the first quarter of 2024, with a stock of 11.2 million square meters and a vacancy rate rising to 31%, considering the government plans to build nearly 600,000 square meters of new commercial office buildings in the next 3 quarters, the overall city vacancy rate is set to reach new heights, potentially exceeding 33%. This implies that 1 out of every 3 commercial buildings is vacant, unable to be rented. Regarding office rents, in the first quarter of 2024, Shenzhen's citywide rent index fell by 1.8% quarter over quarter and 6.7% year over year, with the average rent dropping to 164 yuan per square meter per month. As such conditions prevail even in first-tier cities, numerous second-tier cities like Zhengzhou, Changsha, Qingdao, and Tianjin are experiencing even steeper declines in office building prices. Vacancy rates in Grade A office buildings in these cities exceed 30%, with some areas even surpassing 40%. These cities share similarities. In recent years, they aggressively built various high-end office buildings and new districts, including high-end office spaces, even in the peripheral areas of core districts. Now both prices and rents of these office buildings have severely dropped. Take Qingdao City in Shandong Province, for example. The Binhai area and Laoshan district of Qingdao possess numerous high-end office buildings, but the city's ability to attract businesses is not strong. An alarming 48% of vacancy rates in Qingdao indicates that half the high-end office buildings are empty. 4 years ago, someone bought an entire floor of an office building in Langshao district, Qingdao, as an investment. After the tenant left during the pandemic, the owner has been unable to find a suitable renter since, with zero rental income and unable to sell the property. Each month, a substantial property management fee is still due. Despite these high vacancy rates and plummeting rents, the supply of commercial buildings in China continues to increase. In 2023, the total supply of commercial office buildings nationwide was 6 million square meters, a 20% increase from the previous year's 5 million square meters, and the supply of major cities is expected to continue to rise this year. Industry insiders criticize a massive supply as being out of touch with market conditions. Local governments across China continue to increase the annual construction and supply of office buildings. Thus, the planning is not based on rational considerations, but merely aimed at boosting the economic total, GDP. If this capacity continues to expand, it will mean that vacancy rates and rents across China will remain under pressure. Commercial real estate, particularly office space vacancy rates, can be seen as a barometer of the macroeconomic climate. The significant rise in vacancy rates in major cities directly reflects a reduction in the number of businesses, with fewer people genuinely running enterprises. In recent years, the rate of business failures has reached 90%, leaving many disheartened. The ease of business failure is partly due to high office rent costs. Even in central areas of second-tier cities, where renting a floor can cost hundreds of thousands per year. For startups, just breaking even in a year is an achievement, and it may take several years for a business to become profitable, but they must also bear the burden of high rents. Entrepreneurs would rather work for others than start their own business. Some, after failing their business endeavors, dare not start another, while others have moved their offices to residential areas, leading to a significant decrease in demand for office spaces. Investors in office buildings find it difficult to sell, as buyers require full cash payments, leaving many office buildings perpetually vacant. In the real estate market, office space leasing has always been a hot sector. When the economy thrives, so does the office leasing market. However, as many businesses see reduced profits or even losses, office consumption is downgraded, meaning fewer job opportunities are available. When ordinary people face a situation with no work available and no companies hiring, it signifies a genuine economic crisis. Simultaneously, the substantial inventory, steep declines in prices and rents, and alarmingly high vacancy rates for vanity projects highlight the severe challenges that CCP faces in rejuvenating its faltering economy.